Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy. My name is WilOcho, and we're back here on O in the C. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have worked out a deal with Lavonte David. It is a 2-year deal worth $25 million. $20 million of it is guaranteed. There's a whole bunch of like voidable years and weird sort of contract terminology that kind of just messes with my head a little bit. It's kind of hard to wrap your brain around, but basically the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get Lavonte David for 2 years, and they're sacrificing future cap space to do so. Essentially, Lavonte David's happy, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are happy, and I'm happy. Lavonte David is probably my favorite Tampa Bay Buccaneer. It's hard to say because now, I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just have so many good players and so many different, like, really talented guys and just so many people that you really want to root for. The Bucs are just stacked with a lot of really good players that are exciting. Some of them are young, some of them are old, some of them have been here for the longest, but Lavonte David, probably out of all of them, is the guy that he's just always, I feel like he's just always been my guy. Lavonte David, it's awesome that Lavonte David got re-signed. And personally, myself, I was really worried. Like, I was nervous. I was like, especially as, you know, I wasn't nervous as the season ended. By the way, Super Bowl champions, I mean, hey, whatever, right? No big deal. We just won the Super Bowl. Whatever. I started getting nervous as we got closer and closer to like the franchise tag deadline and stuff like that. And free agency was kind of like around the corner. I was like, are we really about to lose Lavonte David? Is Lavonte David about to actually go somewhere else? Like, he can't, right? He's Lavonte David. Then you think about guys like Gerald McCoy, and you're like, ooh. And you think about guys like John Lynch or Warren Sapp, if we date it back, you know, a little bit more into the early 2000s. It's scary. Like, you don't want to lose your guys. You never want to lose your guys. And it's obviously hard to lose anybody. Like, it would have been hard to lose Chris Godwin, of course. He's been franchise tagged, so we're not losing him either. But it would have been hard to lose Chris Godwin too. But Lavonte David, I think, would have been one of the hardest to lose out of anyone because he's such a stalwart with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been here for so long, and he's always been a good player, and he's always been a team leader, and he's always been a guy that you've never heard anything bad about Lavonte David. The worst thing you could say about Lavonte David is, man, dude's so underrated. Like, that is like the worst thing anybody's ever said about Lavonte David is he doesn't get recognition. He doesn't get credit. Nobody realizes how good he actually is. And if that's the worst thing that is going on with you, then you're doing something right. And to me, Lavonte David is, I mean, he's the elite of the elite, just across the board. As a football player, as a person, just as an athlete, just everything. Lavonte David is top-notch. He's top class, top-notch. And he's played multiple positions now in multiple schemes for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right, he was a 4-3 outside linebacker. Now he's a 3-4 inside linebacker. You haven't noticed any dip, no drop-off in his play whatsoever. You could even argue that he's gotten better. Lavonte David, to me, he's just a guy who he deserves, I think we all know, he deserves to retire at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers should do him that courtesy, do him that respect. Like, I just watched recently, the Carolina Panthers had a joint retirement press conference for Greg Olsen and Thomas Davis. And Thomas Davis is a guy who I think, not that he's, I'm not making comparisons necessarily between him and Lavonte David in the standpoint of who they are as players, but just more who they are to their teams. Thomas Davis never should have been allowed to leave the Carolina Panthers. Matter of fact, Tom Brady is a classic example of a guy who never should have been allowed to leave, right? There's certain people who should just stay with the teams that they're on because they're synonymous with that team and they're synonymous with that culture. Me, I'm very thankful that Tom Brady did leave. Thank goodness. I mean, that is, I mean, talk about life-altering. But Lavonte David is one of those guys. He should stay with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He should retire a Buck. His name should be up on the stadium. He should be retired a Buck. Nobody should wear 54 after him. Like, Lavonte David is like a really special player, and of just premium class too. Like, that's the thing that I think impresses me the most about him. He's just greatness all around. And Lavonte David is Always had a knack for turnovers too. Like, not only is he a good player, just, you know, sideline to sideline speed, he could tackle, yes, he could cover. You know, we even seen him rush the passer at times when they needed him to rush the passer. I'm thinking about sacking Aaron Rodgers week 6. I'm thinking about Taylor Heineke, right? He closed out the Washington football team in the playoffs. No Devin White. Who we blitzing? We got to send Lavonte. Lavonte gets it done. He's always had a knack for punching that ball out. He always is just has sort of an innate ability to find the football and make a play and get us the ball back. And if you're a defensive player who can get the football and give your offense more possessions and more opportunities to score, that's the most premium type of defensive player. Get me the ball. You guys remember Charles Tillman for the Bears was famous for that punch out, you know, being able to just strip the football. Lavonte David does that on a whole, you know, on a level unto himself. Like, he is an elite player, and he's an elite person. And Lavonte David deserves every bit of money that he gets from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I really hope that he stays with the Bucs up until the day that he decides to call it quits. If that is in 2 years, or if that's in the future, down the line even further. I can't say anything bad about Lavonte David. I can't even. I almost out of good things to say, because he's just premium. Like, he's just premium. He's just one of the best players that we've ever had in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform, and I really do hope that, you know, he just remains forever in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. It'd look weird to see him in a different team's uniform. So Lavonte, really glad you get your money. Really glad you're staying. Great job by Jason Light all around. This offseason so far has been a grand slam, home run, slam dunk, whatever you want to call it. Jason Light has nailed it thus far, so I love it. I love it. The other thing that I think is really underrated, and it really worried me if we lose Lavonte David, is Devin White. Now, I know Devin White is like a great player, and the hype train for Devin White is, you know, I mean, people are on the hype train. They're choo-choo on that hype train, and that's fine. Devin White's a great player. I understand. You'll get no argument from me there. But I don't know if Devin White is as great a player if not for the impact that Lavonte David has had on him. So, to me, Devin White's greatness is Devin White's greatness, but it's credited in part to Lavonte David. I think he is just the ultimate professional, and I'm just so glad that we were able to get him a Super Bowl win. I mean, that is awesome, like, to just know that he has that, and he's the most tenured Buccaneer, and just everything about it. It's just sensational. And also a fun fact for you guys that maybe nobody actually realizes, but Lavonte David is the only player in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history to wear every single uniform that the Bucs have ever sported. Lavonte David was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they were still wearing their old, original Super Bowl era uniforms, if you will. Then he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously, the entire time that they rocked those bad boys up there. You see the WilOcho jersey. Lavonte David was there for that whole era of uniform. And then he's still on the team. Still great at the same time. Still on the team as they switch new uniforms and get the new ones, and he's worn all 3 of the new jerseys. If you're thinking, well, wait a minute, you're forgetting one, I'm not, because Lavonte David was actually on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the last time that they were able to wear the creamsicles in an actual game as a throwback alternate. And that's really cool. That's like a weird stat, but it also shows like just the general longevity that Lavonte David has been able to sustain, and the whole time he's been great. So Lavonte, super glad you're back. I would have missed you. I'd have missed you a ton if you were gone, but now I don't have to think about those sad thoughts. I could just ixnay them from my brain and stay happy and stay positive. Lavonte David's coming back on a 2-year deal. Jason Light, I mean, you're the real MVP if there ever was one. Lavonte, glad to have you back. Let's go Bucs. The 2020 Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers keeping Lavonte David.